Good day. Now we have here the history of information communication technology, or ICT. Okay. So there is a question right here. If you ever wonder how our connected world nowadays got connected in the first place. So here we have the four different ages, okay, of information technology. First, we have the pre-mechanical age. So under this age, here is an example. I will go back again to the example. Here, the petroglyph in Utah. Okay, the petroglyph in Utah. So what is this all about? During the earliest age of technology, we can define it between the time of 3000 BC and 1450 AD. We are talking about communication here, on how communication first started. And it started through the use of petroglyphs, the language of pictures. Communication, or having a communication, and the process of communication doesn't always have to be in words. Symbols and icons are also a means of communication, or it can be a way of communicating. Petroglyphs tell a story. It can be a map or a guide towards travelers. And also, this helped us historically because it is a way of keeping accounts, such as how many animals one owned and others. And also, it also serves as a track record on who live already on a certain area or a certain place. So this trend continued with the advent of formal language and better media such as rugs, papyrus, the first time that paper has been invented. Okay, so we can write on whatever is on our mind, and this is the advent already towards publishing and printing, the beginning of it. The first ever calculator, and also considered as the first computer, which is the abacus, was invented in this period after the development of numbering systems. Codes and numbers have been developed first, or discovered first. Next, so remember we have pre-mechanical. Now we have mechanical age. On this picture is Pascaline from 1652. Okay, so Blaise Pascal. The mechanical age is when we first start to see the connections between our current technology and its ancestors. So it's like a link. The mechanical age can be defined between 1450 and 1840. So what do we have here? On this age, mechanical age, we have here analog computers. Okay. Analog computers sparked our interest, or our ancestors' interest, in computation and gathering of information. So Mr. Blaise Pascal invented the Pascaline, the well-known mechanical computer capable of doing simple arithmetic, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. It's like a calculator itself. Initially called the arithmetic machine, it was granted a royal privilege by King Louis XIV of France in 1649. So during that time, that kind of invention was already exceptional itself. It does a simple type, okay, of computation. However, complex things always do start with simple ones. Next, and the third one, the electromechanical age. What do we have during the electromechanical age? On this age, this is already the age that is almost connected to what we have nowadays. The electromechanical age heralded the beginnings of telecommunications as we know it today. This age can be defined roughly between 1840 and 1940. Several revolutionary technologies were invented in this period. So here we have the Morse code, the telephone, and radio. So we only started from petroglyphs carved through stones, and then we have a simple device that does simple arithmetic and simple computations. We have the abacus and the pascaline, and now we already have Morse code, telephone, and radio. And also during this time, sooner or later, perhaps I will show you my IBM ThinkPad. I have one here, but it's not like this one. The first IBM computer was invented in 1944, or was released and created in 1944. So all of these technologies were crucial stepping stones towards modern information technology systems. Of course, United States, one of the countries, as I should say, or the first country that has developed this kind of technology during electromechanical age, that has this Harvard Mark I by IBM. So it's 8 feet by 50 feet and 2 feet big computer, weighed a whopping 5 tons and had to be programmed using punch cards. There is a picture here of the Harvard Mark I. So this is the Harvard Mark I, 1944. Other than that, we have the telegraph, 1837. Telephone, of course, Alexander Graham Bell, 1876. Radio, Guglielmo Marconi, 1894. But even though these devices are great for communication purposes, however, they cannot store any kind of information. So, as time goes on, we have this generational technology like the vacuum tubes and the punch cards, of course, used for Harvard Mark I. The ENIAC computer, later on, we will discuss it. Vacuum tubes replaced by transistors, punch cards replaced by magnetic tape, and magnetic cores used for storage. High-level programming languages were created, such as Grace Hopper's COBOL, which were translated by compilers into binary format. This binary format is what we now see as the 0 and 1, the endless 0 and 1. Transistors replaced by integrated circuits, magnetic tape was used throughout all computers, and magnetic cores became metal oxide semiconductors. Operating systems appeared, OS, Windows such as that, along with the advanced programming language or the BASIC. CPUs, which contained memory, logic and control circuits, all on a single chip, personal computers, the first release of Apple II, and the graphical user interface were developed. GUI allows interaction with computers through images rather having to type in commands. So let's go back here. So the vacuum tubes, punch cards, and magnetic tape, those are the things used to make, for example, Harvard Mark I work. And then we have here again a programming language, which is Grace Hopper's COBOL, which is later on translated into compilers known as the 01 and the series of 01, the binary format. That is the binary format. A while ago, telephone and other devices invented are not able to store information themselves. So later on, the central processing unit has been invented along with a more advanced programming language than the COBOL, which is the basic. And last but not the least, we have the electronic age. Here, a while ago I talked about ENIAC. So this is the ENIAC being programmed during 1940s. How does it work? Okay. First, it uses electronic switches, just like here. Those are the electronic switches in the form of vacuum tubes. I'm not talking about a large vacuum tube here. Kindly look at this photo, just like this. Those are the vacuum tubes being used. Instead of the electromechanical relays seen in the previous era. In principle, The electronic switches would be more reliable, of course, since they would have no moving parts that would wear out, but the technology was still new at that time and the tubes were comparable to relays in reliability. The major benefit of the switches was that they could open and close thousands of times faster than relays. So what does the ENIAC mean? So it is an electronic numerical integrator and computer. The first electronic general purpose computer that could solve a large class of numerical problems through reprogramming. So ENIAC was invented and developed. Why? It is for the use of USA's Ballistic Research Lab. The first program for ENIAC is about a study on the feasibility of the thermonuclear weapon. The first and sole purpose of this computer is for USA's research lab, wherein they have their first study about thermonuclear weapon, the possible use of the thermonuclear. Next, so this is Mark 1 and the EDSAC. So to sum everything up, IT is the use of hardware and software to manage information. That is IT. But it's a different thing. I would like to ask you about this and our VidCon. Okay, the difference between ICT and IT. So inventions such as the telegraph, the telephone, radio are used to communicate only and not to store information. There is already a hint on this sentence. Okay. Methods and ways of data storage, retrieval, processing, and transmission change over generations. Technological generations, to be exact. So we have the earliest computers that you have seen on the slides a while ago. The information age and the internet, or the internet. Seeing all these cables and wires, this is just a piece of how many or how billions of users, internet users, we have at this point of time. This is just a small dot. This image is just a small dot. So we have this IA, or the information age, that is made possible through computers, electronic computers, devices that are not only capable of communicating or helping people to communicate towards other people, but also to store and retrieve important information. The development of information technology and the storing and retrieval of information undoubtedly helped the boom and rise of every nation's economy due to information digitization. And we also have here the term digital revolution. So if we have the industrial revolution, we also have here digital revolution. Industrial revolution in the industrial age. So now we have the digital age. We are on the digital age. So like energy, which cannot be created nor destroyed, it only transfers from one form to another. Okay. An info, once someone uploaded or created a certain kind of information, is it possible to remove everything that you uploaded or totally delete what has been released to the public totally? It can, again, it can, okay, without the apostrophe and T, okay, it can be removed, deleted somehow, but not in a form of 100%. It's not easy though, because here the information can be easily rerouted through channels. So it says here that the internet existed since 1969, and the invention of the World Wide Web in 1989 by Tim Berners-Lee, and in 1991 the internet became an easily accessible network and is now a global platform for accelerating the flow of information, and is pushing many, if not most, older forms of media into obsolescence. Into obsolescence. So we have here the word obsolescence, obsolete. Is it true? Okay, so when we say obsolescence, it means obsolete or has been removed. Other forms of media. We are talking about the radio, telephone, and other types of devices invented before the release of internet and computer in 1969. Perhaps for this generation, for your generation, only few cling to the idea of listening to radio every morning because we have our iOS, Android devices, and we have Spotify, unlike before. We also have YouTube to watch videos, MVs, and listen to music as well. There are lots of modern day applications that we have nowadays. That's why perhaps it is said here that older forms of media invented before the advent of internet has been now obsolete. But for the older generations or the generations before us, these older forms of media is still used. And also, I think we should still give value to these older forms of media because without this, we will not realize the need to rise above what we recently have and try to invent more and be part of the technological advancement. So the sources, you can also use sources that we have here for your further readings and if you would like to learn and know more. So that is what we have. This is just short. Okay, history of information communications technology. So if you have questions or if you want to add further information on this discussion, write it down on the reply box on your MS Teams where this video has been uploaded and also to our FB group page, the FB group page of your class.